Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, fellow Ambazonians, fans and friends of Mr. Nanchop. Welcome to today's edition of Amber Voice. On today's edition of Amber Voice, we shall be diagnosing, exposing, analyzing, and bringing to the light a fraudulent attempt, a fraudulent act that has been working and going on behind our bones. Brothers and sisters, fellow Ambazonians, we are going to expose La République's secret plan behind the CDN. The CDN is an acronym that stands for Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations. Now, first of all, I want to welcome you to today's edition of Amber Voice. Good morning to you and to those of you in Asia, in the Middle East. Good afternoon to those of you in the US, and of course, good evening to you in Europe and in Ground Zero. I want to thank you, my fellow Ambazonians, fathers and mothers, the brave warriors of Amberland in Ambazonia, those of you standing tall to defend homeland from the terrorist talks of La République du Cameroon, our valiant men and women standing to protect our children, our mothers and parents. I want to say thank you in the name of the Amber Voice platform. I'm welcoming you to this special edition, and of course I have a special guest with me all the way from Los Angeles, California, that I shall be bringing on in a very short moment from now. But before we come to that, fellow Ambazonians, those of you watching us by means of Facebook, I would like you to click on your share button, because we are about to expose to you something very important, something every Ambazonian must hear and must get. La République is the chief manipulator. We know that La République is good at manipulating, twisting stories, and acting. I don't know the title of this movie they are acting right now, but I want to tell you that before they are aiming at doing anything or conceptualizing anything, we already know. Yes, because this is a God-ordained revolution. And in this Ambazonian liberation struggle, we have just one destiny, Boya. One result, independence, and nothing will stop us from getting that particular result. Whatsoever La République is doing, let them know that we know what they are planning. Fellow Ambazonians, today it's my pleasure to come to you and to expose to you La République's secret plan behind the CDN, the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation. Now, many of you have heard about it. It's been one of the most discussed topics in the last days and weeks. But let me tell you something. I'm going to show you on this particular episode of Amber Voice how related the happenings that are taking place in Ambazonia right now are to the plan of La République, to this plan of Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation. As a matter of fact, you'll be surprised to know that the things that are happening are a distraction, because La République is about to release her last bullet. I repeat, her last weapon against Ambazonians. And that's why this particular edition of Amber Voice is so important that every Ambazonian get this message, because La République is playing a big tactical game. Now, first of all, I want to thank you, my fans and friends, my mothers, my fathers, these wonderful, great people of the beloved nation of Ambazonia. I appreciate your concern. I appreciate your love. See, let me tell you something. This is what I love. Most of you have called me, you've written me, you've expressed your concern about my show of yesterday. Let me say this. I know one of our tactics and operational models right now is using social media to create awareness of information. But the truth is, it's not everything we can see on social media. Sometimes we just have to have faith in ourselves. So I'm not a La République agent, and I will never be one. Somebody said, you've been bought over by La République. How can you say that? No, 1,000 times no. But bear with me, in the days to come, you appreciate that. You understand why we did what we did. Now, fellow Amazonians, I said and I've sworn to you guys that I, Mr. Nanchop, we from the Mr. Nanchop's platform and this Amber Voice platform, we are not going to tolerate anything that we want to jeopardize our revolution. Nothing. We shall never tolerate anything that we want to jeopardize our revolution. Joining me all the way from Los Angeles, California, is this wonderful, beautiful mom of mine that I respect so much, I cherish so much, Dr. Patience Abiedio. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Mr. Nanchop, and greetings to everyone listening today. Can you hear me?
5 on 5.
Okay. I want to extend greetings to everyone listening, all of your fans out there all over the world. I'm not sure if you have some people from Amazonia listening. I extend my greetings, Ground One, and all over the diaspora. Before we proceed, I just want to take a moment to remember the victims of the horrific action by La Republic that occurred this past Saturday, October 24th. And in doing so, I like to light a candle for all the victims and read out their names. Unfortunately, I have the names only of 6 of them, but I'll read out their names. So bear with me. I light this candle in remembrance of Victory Kambibon Gamenyi, Anangim, Princess Ngemoni, Changwani, Rema Zakami, Cindy, Shema, and the last child, I don't have his or her name. We ask God to take you all in his bosom and keep you safe. And we ask God to bless your families and friends during this tough time. And then we ask that Amazonia never forgets you when we gain our full independence. Thank you.
Thank you, Mappy. Again, my condolences to the families of the bereaved, and of course, and of course, I don't want to be a Tanganji. We are not going to bury the bereaved, no. Now, fellow Amazonians, mothers and fathers, I want each and every one of you to understand that we are together with you. Ground Zero, I want you to understand that in this liberation fight, we must work as one person, one nation, one people. There must be the coordinates, there must be the cooperation between us. Now, there are things we can see that perhaps you can't see. And I will really want to use this opportunity to emphasize that we follow the laws and the orders of the interim government. These things that happened, they could have been prevented if and only if the parents had obeyed what the interim government said. Now, this is a choice for you to make. You have La République du Cameroun, who've shown us timelessly, time and again, that they don't love us. They are willing to do everything and anything to kill us. Think about it. If they could kill baby Mata, if they could kill our children in Gabu, what about the other children? And in love, our interim government had warned us that because of the insecurity, we cannot permit our children to go out there. La République, the blood-sucking demons, the occultic regime that feeds on human flesh and drinks human blood. They campaigned and advocated together with their cohorts and sold out amongst us that the children should go out there where bullets are flying. Now, all those who campaigned for school resumption, where are they? Where are their children? Some of them don't even have children. They don't know the pain of losing a child. It's sad. My patience.
Yes.
Talking about what happened in Gabo, I can see you are still in sackcloth. Now, we've been mourning for a couple of days now. And of course, one other thing that came to my mind today when I saw a series of videos where students were still going to schools and we saw them running all over in disorder because something had happened. I think this happened in Boya. It seems to me like our people are not getting the message. People are not getting it. And I don't know, as a mother, what would you say at this particular time? What advice are you going to give to our people?
Well, we've always said that we want our children to be educated. There's no parent out here in the diaspora that would want our kids not to have a good education. We have the United Nations Declarations on Human Rights, and it lists about 29 or 30 articles. One of those articles are the right to life. There's another article as the right for education. I always say this, that the right to life supersedes the right to education. If our environment was safe, where we don't have La République military parading the streets, then we'll say it's up to you, parents, to decide whether you want to send your kids to school during a wartime, even though the La République is there. But we are saying this, that for the sake, we're giving you advice that for the safety of your children, it's best that you keep them at home and find a way of educating them at home. There are several ways that kids can get learning. It doesn't have to be in an institution, in a traditional setting. If La République had heeded to the United Nations when they asked them to silence the gun in response to COVID-19, then it would be a different ball game, right? Because all along, look at this, look at that. Look at that.
So much chaos out there. And this happened today in I think these images are coming from Boya.
Yeah, I've not seen this one yet. This is the first I'm seeing of this. My goodness.
We saw, I know, the sad thing is, my patience, and I come back to the question, after what happened on Saturday, and the interim government had declared a morning lockdown for yesterday and today. Normally, yesterday, Monday, was the normal, regular lockdown. Today had to be a lockdown in solidarity of our lost kids, brothers and sisters, and of course, their fellow mates and students. But it's like the message is not getting across these people. I don't know, but I'm more concerned about the lives of our children, because I think every parent, just like you are, looking at the insecurity, I mean, they apparently tell these children, no, life is more important than going to school. Maybe I'm saying it wrong, but I want to get this from you, Dr. Patience. What?
I kind of think that this population is mixed. We have quite a lot of Francophones living in our area. There are quite a few also people that do not believe in our struggle. So those ones will disobey the instructions from this government that is recommending them that for the safety of your kids, keep those kids at home. That population there, I will not be surprised that they're mostly the kids of Francophone parents. I will not be surprised. because they've taken our land. They're all over the place. They're all over Boya. They're all over Victoria. And so they will do otherwise, because when this military goes there to attack, they will speak French. If the kids speak French, they get exempted from being killed. So they feel safe. Remember, I don't know if you saw Secretary Chris' show yesterday.
Yes, I did.
Mentioned that when this rampage went on in that school in Kumba, the first child that they contacted, she spoke in French, pardon moi, and the person said that don't kill that one, and they went and shot other kids. So the French kids are emboldened. They think that nothing can happen to them. That's the only thing that makes any sense. I don't see how any English-speaking mother, I shouldn't even use the word English-speaking, any Southern Cameroonian, any person that believes in our struggle will put their kids in harm's way. It makes no sense.
Well, let me take a follow-up on that, Dr. Patience. You just said something that is enlightening. I noticed that, let's look at the incident that happened in Kumba. There are French schools around there. If the Ambazonia restoration fighters were the one that perpetrated these acts, why would they choose an English school where most of the students are their brothers and sisters, instead of targeting a French school?
That's exactly what I said yesterday. I said that there's no way that we will kill our people. And if we had to do something so demonic, I don't think that we should even go kill children. We are there to defend ourselves, right? So, but if we were to do something so evil, which I will never stand for, you go to kill the kids of your enemy. You will not go kill your own kids. So that's why I am 100% confident that that act was not done by one of us. It was not done by a bona fide Ambazonian fighting for independence.
And of course, whosoever has done that, we all know, because we have all the evidence right now, that this was perpetrated by La République du Cameroun, shooting at unarmed children, innocent children, children portraying no danger. You can only be a coward to do that. I mean, if I think of what happened in Batibo, that they literally took a baby and threw in a boiling oil pot. This shows you the magnitude of wickedness and the extent to which these people will go just to impute pain in us. And the worst of all is, after perpetrating such atrocious acts, they have the guts to go out there and try to blame us. You know, this is the worst part about it.
You know, when I heard that incident where that baby was put in oil, I couldn't believe it. I said, this must be fake news. Because think about it. This is a baby, an innocent child. And you take an innocent child and put in hot oil? That's inhumane. And to find out that it really happened, I said, there's no way we can stay with these people. There's no way we can stay with these people, because we are considered animals. That's what you do. You're trying to cook a bird, a chicken. Definitely. How can you want to stay with them? My goodness.
Taking on your word, you said they considered us as animals. Dr. P, I remember the colonial governor to the Southern Zone once said that, he said we are dogs. He actually said if they would send their dogs to the streets, they would make sure they kill their dogs, referring to our people who go to the streets for peaceful protest. Now, one of the level in international definition of genocide, one of the stages of genocide is to dehumanize your opponent. And we saw that happen. You remember when they called the Tutsis cockroaches? They killed them accordingly. So when they call us dogs and they are killing us accordingly, I'm very much shocked that the international community is still very silent, even though many human rights watches and organizations have termed what is happening in Ambazonia as genocide. Dr. Patience, what's your take on that? Why do you think the world is silent about it? I mean, I'm short of words.
Well, it's gradually picking up. You know, we're a small country. This recent thing that happened in Nigeria, which was just not as grievous as what is happening in Ambazonia, took up a lot of international people, international bodies started talking about it. Even here in California, we heard news on it, but we've never seen any news on CNN about what is going on. So the answer is that we are a small country. We're not prioritized. We don't stand any. We're not, in terms of the geopolitical game, we are not significant. But more to that, more importantly, is us as a people. If the majority French-speaking Cameroonians, the majority people that are not Southern Cameroonians, if they believed that this is so unfair, you cannot be treating my brother as an animal, you cannot be calling my brother a dog, and then they stood firm and supported us way back in 2016 and 2017, then it will be a different ball game. Then the power of numbers will outshine the small minority that we have, and maybe the international community will say something significant is happening here. But they were quiet. Why were they quiet? Because they believe that we are inferior to them, right? They are superior, we are inferior. And we have to just keep on pushing and pushing and telling the international community, and eventually they will respond.
My patience, one of the narrative La République has been trying to give out there is that Cameroon, referring to the Cameroons, two Cameroons, is one and indivisible. Now, what I really wonder about that claim is, how does the killing of our children, look at what happened in Gabu, look at what is happening in Kumba, look at what has been happening, look at what is happening in Ikuna, how does the killing of unarmed civilians, innocent children, makes us one and indivisible? I don't understand. I mean, this flies, the truth is, I cannot conceptualize this in my little brain. How does this make us one and indivisible?
Well, there's a famous saying that action speaks louder than words. Mm-hmm. So the actions of this government have shown that we are not one and indivisible. How many towns and villages of the French Cameroon section has been burnt? How many of them are refugees in a foreign land? How many of them have been arrested as political prisoners? How many of them have been killed, maimed, tortured? How many of them are worried about their kids going to schools? So the answer to all these questions show that we are already a divided people, and the division came from way back, and that's why we are fighting. And they know that. Even the majority Francophone know that we are not the same. Even in their regular businesses, those people that went to work and had offices, they always call us those people, les anglophones là. So we are not the same people, right? We are not the same people.
Absolutely, you're right. Mapishen, the last question on this topic before we go into the keynote of the day. As a mother, you are my mother, and that remains, I know my eye going to be very angry right now and jealous, but I must say that. Now, my patience, it remains, I want you to please talk to your brothers and sisters, our parents, the parents that are responsible for the security of their children, the one that are responsible to send these kids to school. We've seen what has happened in Kumba. We know of the magnitude and the degree of wickedness that La République can exhibit against our people. I think what is important to us right now is the safety of our own kids. It is our responsibility. We cannot trust the government. You remember, they deceived the people. Those who were campaigning for school resumption deceived our people that they would provide security for them. On every normal circumstances, the government of La République du Cameroun has to be held accountable for those fake promises. They are told the people that they will provide security to them or for them. Now we are seeing that this is a government that has never stood by her words. They are not credible. I mean, no normal human being on a rational sense would want to believe them. But I want us to focus on ourselves, on our people, because it is our responsibility to help ourselves, advise ourselves, educate ourselves, and protect ourselves. What would you say to those parents back home, to the mothers and the fathers watching us right now, with respect to the security situation of our children?
I will say this, that because we all believe that the right of life supersedes the right to an education, keep your kids home to keep them safe. That doesn't mean that I don't believe that they need to have an education. Find a way to get them educated at home. There are many ways of doing that. If you live in communities that have people that are teachers, you can make an arrangement for these teachers to gather these kids in a home setting and teach them and tutor them. You could advocate for older kids to teach younger kids how to read and write, especially the ones that are just turning maybe 4 or 5 years old now. They don't need a lot to learn. They just need the basics, how to count, how to their alphabets, some basic things in life. Teach them at home. When the time comes when it's safe. And by the way, if La Republique were to pull away its army from all our territory, I would advocate for education. But until that happens, I'm saying that your kids need to be safe. You cannot educate a dead child. So all you have to do is now is find how you can teach these kids at home. Have your churches assist if you're a parent that has no resources. Go to your church and say, I have a child that I need to be educated. Could you help me? I'm sure they will be able to do so. Go to any community centers that you have, any civil societies that you know that can assist. Let these children study at home. Home studies is a way for them to get educated during a wartime. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mape. Now, our fellow Amazonians, fans and friends of Mr. Nanchop, we are diving straight into the keynote of today's presentation. As you can read on the screen, we are about to expose to you La République's secret plan behind the CDN. CDN is an acronym for Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations. Now, I believe some of you might not be aware of this particular sham and game of La République. That's why I think and find it very necessary to make this presentation to you. And I'm so glad I have with me my beloved mother, Dr. Patience Abiedio. She will be assisting me in diagnosing this particular topic. Now, before we go into that, I want to make this announcement. Fellow Amazonians, if you're just joining us on Facebook, please, I want you to do me this favor. Click on your share button. I want you to widely share this message right now. I want everyone to get this particular part of this show, of this message. The Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation, a game plan of La République, the last bullet of La République du Cameroun. As a matter of fact, this is their last plan. We all know and are very aware that La République is a cunning state. They are not trustworthy. They are very manipulative. They will do everything and anything to keep the people of Amazonia in bondage. Of course, these are all plans that are masterminded by their master, France. Dr. Patience Abiedio, I want to ask you this question. Let's talk about the Coalition for Negotiations or for Dialogue and Negotiations. You must have heard about it. What is this all about? I mean, what is this? What is this all about, to your opinion?
Well, I'll go to the source directly and tell you who they say they are. The Coalition of Dialogue and Negotiation is an international non-governmental organization with specific goal to facilitate dialogue and negotiation towards ending the Anglophone war in Cameroon. CDN is made of, well, we'll talk about who they are made of, but that's what it says they are. So they're a non-governmental group with a specific goal to facilitate dialogue and negotiation towards ending the Anglophone war in Cameroon. And they call it
Mape,
Anglophone war. And that's what
Mape,
it
hold on.
says.
I'm sorry, I'll have to
Yes.
interrupt you a series of times. This sounds
Right.
like an ambiguous organization to me. There are a lot of things. When you say the coalition of, there is an organization. Which organization? Where are they based? When are they? How long have they been existing? I mean, is it like an NGO? I mean, this is so ambiguous to me as an Ambazonian. Now, I'm talking from the standpoint of a concerned Ambazonian.
Well, you asked a lot of questions in that short sentence that you made. How long have they been existing? So I go back to their site. It says that a small group of thoughtful leaders began discussing the possibility of such a coalition in July of 2019. That's what they claim. So the leaders included Dr. Dennis Forencia, Judith Mwana, and Henry Atem, and Valentine Fontama. I know Valentine Fontama personally because he called me here. He called me to talk to me about this coalition of dialogue. Okay. And my first question to him was that at the time that he called me, the Swiss process was already going on. So my first question to him was that sounds like a great idea. Why don't you guys join the Swiss process? Why don't you partner with the Swiss process? Because we all want to go to Boya. We want the independence. And his answer was that, well, we're doing things differently. But I asked, do you support the Swiss-led process? I didn't really get a clear-cut answer, whether yes or no. And I may be wrong. If he's listening to me, we can talk about it later on. I didn't get a clear answer whether it's yes or no. Because if it's yes, I would have pushed him to say, okay, then what you guys are doing is not right. Let's just all focus on one group right now and bring this to an end. But it goes further. So that is the brief history right there. And I have a list of their board members, which we can talk about later on. Yeah. And it says, yeah, go ahead.
No, speak up, please.
It says the need for establishing a credible coalition of key stakeholders to better facilitate dialogue and negotiation became clear. Now, you have mentioned the word coalition, which I think you want to probably define it, before we even continue.
Yeah. Let's go ahead now. Ambazonians, fellow Ambazonians, I want to be very critical. I'm going to make sure we go to the root of this thing. I want us to see. Listen, we are right now stepping into the Amber Voice Laboratory. You know how I do it on my shows. So before we go further, let's start by the definition of their words. Now, some group is just coming up from nowhere and they call themselves Coalition for, now, oh, come on now. Now, they say they are the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations. Okay. Before we go further, let's start by defining their names. Now, coalition. Let's get the word coalition. For those of you writing, write down the word coalition. It's in their names. Coalition for dialogue. Write down the word dialogue and negotiation. So I want you to also write down the word negotiations. Now, these three words, let's analyze and dissect these words in their context, in the meaning of the words themselves, and see how this represents us and how this reflects the Ambazonian revolution by any means. Because apparently, this is a group that wants to talk about, they call they call it the Anglophone crisis. Okay, but who is sponsoring them? That's the first question that is coming to my mind. Who is sponsoring them? I just asked my patients about who are they, and she was giving us some answer about that. But let's go further before we come to these questions again. Coalition. What's the definition of coalition? Let me read for you what I got from the dictionary. It says, a combination or alliance, especially a temporary one between groups, persons, factions, states, etc. The question here is, who are those involved in this coalition that they are talking about? Because if they are talking about a coalition for dialogue that want to address what they term the Anglophone crisis, or they said the Anglophone crisis, that's their terminology, but we know the things that are the root causes of this fight, this war, and they're talking about the coalition. Now, who are the members of this coalition team, Dr. Patience? What's the coalition all about?
Well, that is a good question, but I can only tell you who the board members are, because I think that tells you more, gives you who are really behind, who is the engine behind the group, will be the board members. Okay. But even before I go there, let me just say something. It says, why should you join the coalition, right? So now it's appealing to individuals, not to groups. So it's not like Team Ambazonia that has different movements that are working towards our independence. So many movements form Team Ambazonia. This one is appealing to individuals. And I'll read this again so that you guys really understand what is going on. Listen, please. It is now clear that the conflict in Cameroon will not be resolved without a broad-based dialogue and negotiation between armed restorers and the Cameroon government. It is also very clear that the economic and social reconstruction of Anglophone Cameroon will not be possible without a robust and well-coordinated effort by citizens, various communities, groups, and Southern Cameroonians abroad. That is why the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation was established. The coalition is open to individuals who are willing to work actively to facilitate a genuine negotiation between parties in conflict, and will put in place a detailed framework to ensure a robust economy recovery afterwards. Join us in this very difficult task. So I'm answering your question that it is made of individuals, not groups. Any individual who believes in their mission and their vision can join them. Now, the board members who are the engine behind this are Professor Amos Sawyer, who is not an Ambazonian. He's from Liberia. He's a former president of Liberia. You have Ambassador Herman Cohen, who is a diplomat, Matt, and you guys all know about...
Mape, hold on, please. Yes. I don't want to miss any of those names without analyzing them, because I want Ambazonians to get this message in full. Now, please permit me. Once you mention a name, I want to say what I know about them. We never talked about this, but you've talked about the Liberian president. I will keep him or skip him. Let's talk about Ambassador Cohen. Now, Ambassador Cohen, to my knowledge, to the best of my knowledge, is one of the accomplices who have led us to be where we are. This is a person, this is a man who recently made a statement and stated his position that Amazonia, he refused to recognize our sovereignty, knowing fully well that we've once been a sovereign state. This is somebody who is not for the independence of Ambazonia. And we know that he has alliance to La République. Now, he is the one that is part of this team. I just wanted to make that particular statement so that my fellow Ambazonians will understand the people who are chairing this coalition thing. Thank you.
Okay. Then you have Gary and Meredith Krupp, who are the founders of Pave the Way Foundation. Comrade Bohybord mentioned about Pave the Way Foundation yesterday, and I've not even bothered to look into it because what he said was very enlightening, that they are just an NGO that do not really have backing, and they're just trying to support Cohen and derail our cause. But let me go to the other Cameroonian. Before that, Ambassador Deborah Molak, who is a former US ambassador of Liberia, and then Dr. Christopher Fomunyo. Now, Dr. Christopher Fomunyo is an Ambazonian. If you read about him and follow him, you want to talk about him? What do you know?
Yes. I want to at least talk about the ones I know to a certain degree.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Fomunyo is the one who is an Ambazonian, as you said, by birth. We will not deny him of his birthright. We're not going to strip him from his birthright. But we all know his stand. This is someone who is playing with La République. As a matter of fact, he was a presidential candidate for La République. He intended to become a president of La République. This is somebody who has never stood for Ambazonia. He doesn't want a free Ambazonia. Even though by birth he is an Ambazonian, he would rather want us to be in slavery with La République. And seeing that he's one of those chairing this so-called coalition for dialogue and negotiation, I'm very concerned because he's not a trustworthy person as far as our cause and our liberation fight is concerned.
And I did use the word Ambazonian loosely. I really meant to say that he's a Southern Cameroonian. He's not an Ambazonian, so pardon me for that. And then there's also Aya Magi Kilo, somebody I consider a friend, and I get mixed messages. And if Aya Magi is listening to me now, we can talk later on. I'm a very frank person. I'm very open. I get mixed messages. I've asked her point blank, that Magi, are you for independence? And she says yes. But her actions, for me, with the people she associates with, makes me think otherwise. And I'll just say it out. I'm not a politician. I speak as I feel, and that's where I stand with her. And those are the board members. Oh, there's one more, Ambassador Deborah Molak, I mentioned that already. I don't know much about her. Now, yeah.
Mape, I think many of those watching us right now will share the same concern I'm about to share. Now, first of all, I am very concerned about that because now they are talking about building a coalition and they are more focused about individuals and they want to address a root cause, a problem. Now, they even want to go as far as to dialogue and negotiate about it. But I'm not seeing the coalition. Now, we know that we have the Morics, we have, let me just be global here, we have the ACT team because the ACT in itself has many other members in it. The IG is also there. None of them is being represented in this coalition. So what kind of coalition is that? I mean, I'm not understanding. From my findings, they have a group. We know that Sisiku Ayok Tabe and the rest are all, I mean, we have Neba Fontem, individuals.
Yes.
Who are, as a matter of fact, I heard you said yesterday that Yerima endorsed it and Ayok Tabe's camp have endorsed it. Now, I'm very concerned about that because in this liberation fight, whenever I personally, I'm going to say this, I've lost every trust for Ayok Tabe Julius and Yerima. Whenever they endorsed anything, we've discovered that there is a negative secret plan behind it. For instance, they endorsed the school resumption, and look at what is happening right now. They endorsed the spatial status and national dialogue. Look at what came out of it. So I am very, very skeptical whenever these individuals are endorsing anything of this sort. But I will allow you to say something to that, please.
Yes. So we will talk about the survey that this Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation sent out to the public, and it ran from October 16th through the 24th. And that is a survey that Yeremia, I saw a video of him recommending that everybody should go out and fill out that survey. Meanwhile, the IG, Dr. Sako, the president, Dr. Sako, the IG, has not endorsed this survey. So you have two divergent ideas right here. If he is confusing people to tell them to fill out a survey that could end up being problematic for those who are Ambazonian, then where does he stand? And I think we'll get the answer to this question when you go through the survey to see the types of questions that are asked. So that's why him and Siseko, and I assume that everybody that is following Siseko, if they believe in them, will go ahead and obey and fill out the survey.
Mapit, I'm worried about that. First of all, Ambazonians have not been sensitized about what this is all about. If you should ask me or any other Ambazonian out there, we've not had the opportunity to be educated about what this thing is all about. As a matter of fact, I heard Chukwi said yesterday that he's made a series of attempts to call some of these guys pioneering and channeling this thing to come and talk about it in the public. And they all refused. The question is, if this is genuine, if there is no secret plan behind this thing, why are they not bold enough to talk about it in the public, to answer the questions of concerned citizens like me, and of course to grant us interviews about this thing. If this thing is genuine and for real it is for Ambazonians, why are they afraid to come out publicly and answer the questions of the concerned citizens? If it is about me, then it is surely important that I know the details about it. But they are just endorsing it. Yerima is endorsing it without giving us the details. I mean, Ayok Tabe, they are all, I see this cacophony about this thing because there was this ambiguity about this thing. My patience, perhaps I'm sharing a concern that is not legitimate.
No, it is legitimate concern because when you open the survey, it's been taken down now, it's closed. But when you open it, it tells you the goal of the survey. It said the goal of the survey is to take the pulse of Southern Cameroonians to gauge their aspirations on key aspects of their homeland. Think about that. Is to take the pulse of Southern Cameroonians to gauge their aspirations on key aspects of their homeland. If you're an Ambazonian, you already know where you stand. You don't need a survey, right? You just want your independence, and that's what we should be focused on. But if you go through the survey, which we should go through and see some specific questions that they ask, you will see how it could be problematic if people that are not Southern Cameroonians or people that are not Ambazonians, if they respond to that survey.
Mape, I'm tempted to say that with a degree of ambiguity in which this thing is operating, I'm tempted to say that this is another national dialogue of La République in disguise. Because talking about coalition, and we are seeing that we have, now like what Secretary said yesterday, in their group, you have somebody like My Country People. You have, a 100% representation from La République du Cameroon. You are not having people from the other side. Now think about it. We have Maurix, we have the SLC, we have the interim governor who is the father. Let me just play the devil's advocate here. You have even the egg of C and the rest, but none of them are officially part of this so-called coalition team they're trying to build. So this sounds to me, talking about coalition, which is part of their name, Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation. It sounds to me like La République is playing a game to bring forth another so-called national dialogue. You know, they came out with their national dialogue, and that name alone scared a lot of people, and we saw the result. It was a big flop and failure. Now, I am tempted to feel like they are coming up with something else more modified, but it's still a monologue. I mean, the key stakeholders of the other side are not even involved. So who are you coaliting with to bring in the negotiation and dialogue? To dialogue what?
That's a good question. So this is what they want to do. That survey has some key questions. It has some important questions that will affect our quest for independence. So based on the answers that they gather from this survey, they have a conference at the end of the month. I think it runs October 30th through November 1st, or maybe October 29th, this weekend coming. They have a conference that they will put forth the results of this survey. And my concern is this. Remember when we had the federation, we had the question, we versus yes, and there was the same question. There are some questions in this Bamli case have joined us in this quest. They prefer a one and indivisible Cameroon. So if a lot of them were to take this survey, their answers will give the results that will benefit the grand dialogue type of answers, something that will benefit La République, to give them the impression that, oh, majority of Cameroonians want us to stay together and we can solve this problem as an internal problem. We don't need the Swiss mediation. We don't need any international party to come to solve our problem for us. That's where the problem lies.
I was just about to ask you that, looking at this, now, please don't forget, we are still talking about the coalition. We are coming to the other two words in the definition of their name.
Yes.
But I was just about to ask you, Dr. P, that looking at this, what influence and what effect do you think this will have on the Ambazonian liberation fight? Because this sounds pretty much clear to me like La République du Cameroon is again on another manipulative scheme, and this time around they're trying to make it big. They're trying to bring in some few international bodies that they are paying somehow or influencing somehow, and these are people who have fixed stance on what favors them. For instance, Ambassador Cohen, we know he will never stand for the independence of Ambazonia. Dr. Christopher Fomignon is somebody who is not for the independence of Ambazonia. Seeing that La République is alienating with these people, building an alliance with these people to make this kind of a thing that seems to be like, oh, now it's no more a national thing, it's something we have some other international bodies. But of course, we know these are people who are for the secret agenda of La République. What do you think the outcome of this can be, and what influence or effect can this have on the Ambazonian liberation fight?
Well, let's put it this way. I think that it's a grand national dialogue in the diaspora, because most of the people that will feel this survey are in the diaspora. The question of what it can do for our liberation. I will say this here, that if the results of this survey, because they want to take the pulse of Southern Cameroonians, if the results of this survey come out and say majority of the participants would prefer an independent Southern Cameroons, then I will eat my words right now. And I will say, thank you for doing such a survey that supports me, if that is the case. Because if that happens, then the only thing that will come next is that, where do we go from here? How do we make sure that the voice of majority of the Ambazonians are taken? The next thing will be that we have to go to the table somewhere. Now, what table do we go to? We will go to the table that the Swiss are already setting for us, or will the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation have their own table? But as long as they've already answered the question that majority Southern Cameroons want independent Cameroon, I'll be very happy. I just want to go to Boya. I don't care who takes me to Boya. So I'm answering that question, that if the results of the survey comes up with that answer, even you, Mr. Nanchop, you will be happy. We'll all be happy that yes, it says that Southern Cameroonians all want an independent Southern Cameroons, and we're going to go to Boya. But I don't think that will be the case. I think the results will be such a one that will skew what we are fighting for to benefit mostly the Francophones or those other people that are sitting on the fence that say that will not think. And when it skews it, then La République will say, okay, the majority of Southern Cameroonians have spoken. They want this problem to be an internal problem. We're going to solve it only internally. We don't need any international intervention. And that's my fear.
You know, one thing I also know that is a sham to this, because they have gone out there through a web browser. Now they've published a survey that anyone can just go in there and type it and answer those things. Now there is no scrutiny that whosoever is filling the form or those forms is an Ambazonian. I don't think, I didn't go there. I didn't even waste my time. I think you're one of those who even went there from what you said yesterday.
I did.
But I'm not sure people they have the possibility to give in any ID card number, any whatsoever that will really identify that they are Ambazonians. And I think if that would be the case, or should be the case even, La République can never be trusted, because we've seen them on many instances arrested Ambazonians and forced them to go and march. They would take their ID cards and force them to go and march on 11 February and 20 May to videotape them and deceive the international community as though everything was normal. I personally think the stage of things right now has made it clear to us that there is no way anything can be done under the influence of La République. It must be done under the watch of the United Nations and at least 2 or 3 other international bodies as third parties.
Absolutely. Yes, you're right. I took my time and went through the survey. It has closed, but what I did was I screened the questions. So I have the questions with me on my device here. The questions, if you have a moment, I'll just read some of them to you, that anybody could have gone and put different answers that pleases them. It started with questions like, Are you a Southern Cameroonian? Yes or no? That's easy. Anybody can go answer. Were you a resident of Southern Cameroon before February 11, 1961? Yes or no? Which ethnic groups or tribe of Southern Cameroon do you belong to? It has all these groups. I can choose any group. And I did go through it. I chose things that were not even true. In which country do you live now? Now, this is a important one. In which country do you live now? And it has all the countries of the world. Let me just zone on this. Let's say that majority of the people who answered this survey are abroad. They are not living in the diaspora. And then it comes to deciding what is really important for those who are living there. Their voices could be silenced. You're not important. You're not living in the country. So why should you care what is happening there? You know, let's say the majority of them answer the question and they say, yeah, they want independence. Then they'll say, well, you don't live in Cameroon, so your voice do not count. It continues. Let me go to the more important question. It asks about where your father from, where your mother from, your grandmother from, your grandfather from. Those are questions that anybody can fake an answer.
Yes, literally anyone can answer those questions.
Now, the questions that have more meat to it are this. In your opinion, what is the root cause of the ongoing armed conflict in Southern Cameroon? In your opinion, what is the root cause of the ongoing armed conflict in Southern Cameroon? It has faked decolonization, assimilation, marginalization, Western imperialism. So if I am a Francophone or a Bamileke or somebody who doesn't care about this struggle, I will probably answer marginalization, right? Yeah, if I answer marginalization, then it means that if we change the government, if we change governance, that can be taken care of. But the real Ambazonian will answer fair decolonization or assimilation, and that will lead to different results. So when you ask questions like that, and depending on who answers, and to interpret the results, if the wrong people are answering these questions and skewing the data, then you get wrong results that will not solve the problem. The key is that we want solutions that are permanent, lasting solution. We want a peace that is based on a permanent solution, and this will not give that.
And of course, peace that is based on justice. Mape, let's proceed. Let's go to the next step. Now, we've talked about the coalition. Now, fellow Ambazonians, this is becoming interesting now. Now we are coming to the most interesting part of this show. We've talked about their coalition that, now, don't forget their name is Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation. Now, in the description of their name, we have taken 3 words: coalition, which we of course are expecting that different groups are involved, but we are not seeing the interim government. We are not even seeing other frontline groups representing the people of Ambazonia involved in this. So I wonder what kind of coalition it is. I am already tagging them with the question signs of being another form of national dialogue in disguise. But let's give them a benefit of the doubt. Let's go to the next word. They are talking about dialogue. If they cannot tell us, now we talked about the fact that they've not been bold and honest enough to tell the people of the world and the people of Ambazonia, the concerned people, who are the coalition parties. Let's talk about dialogue. How can there be dialogue when they are not able to even tell us who are the parties to dialogue with? I mean, they are not even telling us the coalition parties, and they are talking about dialogue. It's part of their name. What dialogue? How can they, who are they dialoguing with? Is it, and I mean, yes. I am so tempted to think this is another term of their grand national dialogue. You cannot tell me who you are coaliting with, and you are talking about dialogue, still in your name. So dialoguing with who? About what?
Well, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they are claiming that, because what they wrote on their website is that it is now clear that the conflict in Cameroon will not resolve without broad-based dialogue and negotiations between the armed restorationists, separatists, and the Cameroon government. So if that's the case, so that dialogue has to be with members of, most of the members that are the armed armed restorationist belong to Team Ambazonia, right?
All.
Those
In
are
fact,
where
the restoration
all of them.
forces, the Ambazonian
Yes,
restoration
everybody.
forces are in control of Ground Zero.
So if they are not part of your coalition of dialogue and negotiation, how can they be part of this dialogue between them and the Cameroon government? So you're going to have people that are going to be taking charge of this that are not part of the process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lost.
Like the neighbor Fontaine, because I saw him, he was in a town hall, and he is one of those actively going to take part in this. Now, fellow Amazonians, this is so corny. Listen, La République is playing a big corny game here. And in a moment from now, I'm going to relate all of this to what happened in Kumba. In a moment from now, give me a second, but let's analyze them, let's scrutinize them step by step. I love what Dr. Patience is saying here. This is so wonderful. They are telling us they are using the word coalition, and they are forming to them now a coalition whatsoever. But we are not seeing in that coalition the representatives that matter. The interim government is not there. The acting is not there. Look, whosoever saw or experienced the 1st of October celebration in Ambazonia should at least by now know who controls Ground Zero. You will know that the Ambazonia restoration forces are under the interim government. And we know there's just one interim government. We know that there is no way you want to solve this thing in Ground Zero and bypass the interim government under the leadership of His Excellency Dr. Samuel Ikome Sako. So they are talking about a kind of coalition with who? With Neba Fontaine? With Yerima? These are people that the Ambazonian people have vomited. They have no relevance in the side of Ambazonians. Now you're talking about dialogue. Who are they going to dialogue with when they are not coaliting? There is not that coalitionism with the right people.
I don't know who they want to dialogue with. This problem can only be solved between a dialogue with the representative of Ambazonians, which is the Ambazonia coalition team, and La République. Those are the two parties right there. So if coalition of dialogue and negotiation is starting something else where they have formed their coalition with individuals, not with groups, where they are saying that their goal is to have a dialogue, but they cannot say who is going to be part of that dialogue and negotiation, then it's all part of La République's MO. It's all under the auspices of the one and only Grand National Dialogue, which is taking place in the diaspora instead of in La République.
Mape, I see La République, if they are willing in dialoguing, we have the Swiss-led talk, which is actually an internationally led talk.
Right.
Now, La République, we know that what is delaying them to come to the table in Switzerland is because they are afraid of the fact that once they show up there, they know they have internationalized this thing. It's no more a domestic game. That's why they went ahead to manipulate the so-called national dialogue, because the term itself shows that it is bound within a national territory. Now, what they are trying to do, they know the national dialogue was a failure. Was a disgrace. It exposes them and their ill intention and their unwillingness to solve what is happening. And they go to the root causes of this. Now, what I'm tempted to believe is they have picked some of their surrogates and planted puppets amongst us, like the Neba Fontaine that we know have never been for the independence of Ambazonia, John Baakuru and so many of them. And of course, they have looked at the international community. They have somebody like Cohen who stands for them, who will never support the separation of the country. And they've picked some few individuals from the international community now to form a kind of a game that they would think they can use it to bypass the Swiss talks. Maybe I'm thinking too much wrong, but
no, you're thinking. I think you are on the right path. I think your train of thought it makes sense. Fontaine Neba is dangerous to this struggle. I've had the opportunity to speak with him a couple of times, and I've outright well, somebody called him a chameleon. I will not say who did, but I've outright vomited on him. He knows where I stand, and I know where he stands. And I've point blank told him that I don't think you are for independence. I think you are a federalist that has come here to put some blocks on our, some bricks on our way, to put blocks so that we don't get to where we're going faster. You are under the payroll of La République du Cameroon. You can refuse it whether you like it or not. That's what I believe. I may not have the proof, but your actions show to me that you are not somebody trustworthy. And if I cannot trust you, I cannot work with you. And the only way you can prove yourself wrong to me is that let's think about what is best for Ambazonians. That's all I care of. If anybody think about what is best for Ambazonia and work for Ambazonia, then I give that person all my respect. If Fontaine never comes out today and say, "Well, you know what? I think that the Swiss-led process may be our only way, but these are the problems I see with it, and let's see how we can fix it," then I'll give him the respect. But don't go behind and tear something down just because you have your own agenda. And that's what he's doing. He's tearing the Swiss-led process down because of the agenda of this coalition for dialogue and negotiation, knowing that the agenda that they have will not lead us to independence. And you said something earlier, Comrade Nanchop, my son, you said something earlier that La République is afraid to come to the table because if they come, they don't have a leg to stand with. I would say that if they really believe that they have a case, if they believe that they can stand on their grounds, then they should go to the table and fight their own fight. You know, that will end this problem, right? You know, if they believe that they have a ground to stand on, that they have a solid case on our history, then they can go to the table and say, "Oh, you are wrong. This is exactly what happened. This is where we stand." And in doing that, they can negotiate their way and have the answer that they want. But they cannot just sit behind and continue killing our people. That's cowardice.
And La République should take the challenge. If they believe that they are bold enough and they cannot, they've been singing the language of Cameroon is one and indivisible. For you to be able to make such a profound claim, and if you are sure that you have the facts and the backings, why are you afraid to justify that to the international community? Why
Absolutely.
are you afraid to come and challenge us and win us by your facts? We saw Elvis Ngole, who calls himself a professor. He went out there and was trying to narrate a story of his acclaimed history of the country. But if he is sure of the facts and the evidences that he's bringing to the table, why wouldn't they come to the Swiss table? Let them come. Let them go to Switzerland. Let them come to the table. And to all those who are saying the Swiss-led talks is a La République sponsored talks, do you really believe that La République will be sponsoring it and is afraid to go there? Come on.
Absolutely. Cannot have your cake and eat it. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you were about to say something, ma'am.
No, I was going to say something. I just saw another question on the questionnaire that is very interesting on that survey. It said, how should Southern Cameroons be organized? How should Southern Cameroons be organized? Okay, so people are answering this, and these are the choices. 2 states based on present Northwest and Southwest regions. 3 states that include a new state carved out of the present Northwest and Southwest regions. 4 or more states based on the divisions that existed before 1961 plebiscite, e.g. Bamenda, Kumba, Mafe, Victoria, and other. That's the question they're asking on the survey. Doesn't that strike anybody that this is a problem? If you're answering this question, it should not even be there, right? Such a question should not be on the survey because we are fighting to have our own nation. Our own nation, we will decide how we want our nation. It's a federal republic of Ambazonia. Right now, we have northern and southern zones. When we come together, we may just decide that it's just one whole thing. So you're asking a question, how should Southern Cameroons be organized? 2 states based on the present Northwest and Southwest regions. How should it be organized under what category? under the one and indivisible Cameroon.
Mape,
This is
hold on.
dangerous. Yeah.
They are talking about dialogue and negotiation, and this leads us to the third word, negotiations. Now, what is their concern about the form of our state, Ambazonia? I mean, let's talk about, you have two warring parties that you want to bring them to a dialogue table, you want to negotiate, you want to bring them to a negotiation. Why are you so concerned about what this one is best for this one? I mean, and now the worst of all is they are asking these questions apparently to Ambazonians. So what data are they gathering from La République du Cameroon? On what base are the negotiations going to take place? I mean, this sounds to me like they are trying to outsmart us, get information from us that they will use again against us. But let's not focus on that. Let's come to the terminology of their own definition. They are the ones who went out there, gave themselves the name Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation. We've talked about the coalition. They cannot prove to us any coalition, any genuine coalition. Talking about dialogue, if you cannot tell me who you are coaliting with, who are you then dialoguing with? Now, this leads me to the next point. Negotiation. What are you negotiating, and who are you negotiating for? When I, the Ambazonian citizen that is concerned, I have not been sensitized about what is happening. We never saw any of them. Never did any of them come up to answer the questions of the people. So you are going to negotiate for me without even knowing my concern? I don't understand. They never came up to sensitize us, to tell us what this thing is all about. We had a series of invitation that was sent to them. Secretary Chris sent invitation to them to come and talk to the Ambazonian people what this thing is all about. I personally believe if they had a genuine cause, if they were doing something that was genuine and they were trying to do it based on good motives, they would not be afraid or shy to come to the public and talk to the people and answer their questions about it. The fact that they refuse to answer the questions from the people and are refusing to face the people about this topic makes it very ambiguous and unclear. I see a degree of unclearness in it, and I doubt if this thing is genuine. And the question remains, talking about negotiation. Who are you negotiating for? And what are you negotiating?
Yes. What are you negotiating? Well, I know that negotiation can only start after you've started some dialogue going on. So you have to be talking, and then finally you come to some sort of things that you're going to negotiate based on what the dialogue has led to. If we are Southern Cameroonians, we are Ambazonians, we know already that we want to negotiate our terms of separation. We know that we are already Ambazonians. We already have a country. So we want to go to that table and negotiate how we can live as peaceful neighbors, side by side with La Republique, right? But if you're doing a survey that is going to get all sorts of data that is going to muffle everything together, have everybody confused, then La Republique will say, okay, this is just a one and indivisible Cameroon. There's no negotiation necessary. Let's just sit together and see how we can solve this internal problem. And the negotiation idea will just die its natural death. That's what they are banking upon. And I kid you not, people that are really supporting this coalition for dialogue and negotiations, if you are a bona fide Ambazonian, I don't see how you can support them. I am coming here, I've been preaching this thing. The very first time that I saw that survey, I was upset. Let me just state this. I just want to state for people to hear that when this, and I've said it before, when this struggle started, when in 2016, I was somebody who was saying that, okay, I really want this country to be as one solid country. How can we fix this problem so that we can be one country? That was my dream. And then I did a lot of reading, and people should go do some reading. I did a lot of reading. And then I started realizing that, especially after Biya started the war, I started realizing that there's no way we can be one people. The war, the killing of our people, the type of languages that they use on us, our even history, our Anglo-Saxon heritage, we are a unique people. We have different way of doing things. You know, we are more people that are honest and trustworthy, and we think things through. We are not callous and just live one day at a time. We do things based on honesty, on valor. We have this value in us that the French system doesn't have. And based on that, I started saying that, and the killing and the refugees and the burning of our villages, that's what turned me around. So I'm saying that people, do your homework. If you want this to be something that our children and our great-grandchildren can live peacefully, the only way is to have these two countries live side by side. And if you go read the history behind it, it's quite clear that it's something that would have been the case from the very beginning if we're not defrauded of our heritage. So I just want to put that point out there that people should understand why I'm so passionate about it. And that's why this survey really touched my core. And I don't want people to get misled, because that's what it's doing. It's misleading people.
Fellow Ambazonians, taking into consideration what happened at Fumban, we all know from history what took place in Fumban. We know the manipulation of La République that has brought us this far to stay in the bondage in a fake union with them. The mistake we don't want to make is repeating the same mistakes our forefathers did, and yet we are pointing fingers to them. I believe we've been engraced in this dispensation and in this generation to correct the wrongs and the errors of the past, to rewrite our history, to correct that mistake that was done by our forefathers. I've oftentimes said on this platform that we are the custodians of our lives, of our future. Just like Dr. Patience was saying a few moments ago, we want to make sure we correct this mistake so much that our children will not live to fight again and experience the brutality that we are experiencing today. Brothers and sisters, we are not naive. La République is good at manipulating, but this time around, they've met and have confronted the never again generation. We will not fall for that cheap manipulation. No. If there is going to be anything that concerns us, that is for the people, with the people, it must be a thing that we approve and we are going into it genuinely and wholeheartedly. We have our institutions, and our interim government can never be bypassed by any sham or game being played by La République du Cameroon. Now, I promised you I'll be relating the happenings to the things that are happening right now. But before I come to that, let me say this. Think about the people that are endorsing this talk from La République du Cameroon. Eric Tato. Somebody that has lost the trust of every Ambazonian. He's not a trustworthy source. He does not represent an iota of Ambazonia. Look at the people that are endorsing this thing, this coalition for negotiation and dialogue this La République sponsored thing. You remember an agent of La République in the name of Asanga Padi or whatsoever came out. He was a participant of the La République-led national dialogue. He said it clearly that he was enveloped and that this so-called national dialogue stuff that was a failure, was a shame, was sponsored by France. I repeat, was sponsored by France. Now, we are seeing another game being played by La République and also being sponsored by France, being played in front of us. Brothers and sisters, think about it. Those who endorsed the so-called school resumption in Ambazonia, those who endorsed the national dialogue are the same ones endorsing this so-called coalition for dialogue and negotiations. They are the ones that are against the internationally led Swiss talks. They are the ones that are for. Think about it. Let me give you an example. Permit me to call some names here. I'm trying to refrain from that, but it is sometimes impossible if you want to call a spade a spade. Eric Tato is endorsing it. Ayok Tabe is endorsing it. Nick Santos is endorsing it. Fontem Niba is endorsing it. La République, my country people, look at those who are endorsing the so-called coalition for dialogue and negotiations. Look at them. The same people who endorsed the La République National Dialogue. And we know what was the result. These are the same people that are endorsing these things. You know that when they were planning their so-called negotiation or national dialogue, the same principles and strategies they used, they never regarded our interim government. They decided to work with those who are for federation. They will rather work with those who are against the independence of Ambazonia. They will work with those they will choose and select from amongst us, as they claim. The Eritators are the ones who endorsed it. The Mark Beratas, SCBC, Yerima Ayoktabe, of course, Nick Santos, and the rest. You can name, the list continues. These are the same people who endorse the national dialogue. Does this ring a bell in your head? Does this tell you something? These are the same guys who went for the national dialogue and they failed. Now, they are trying to step up the game. I personally believe, my convictions are, they are trying to play the game. They are trying to correct the errors they made. No, it was a national dialogue. Now they are trying to use another terminology and make it sound a little bit better, but it's still a La République sponsored and led monologue. We are going to open the lines to get some of your questions. I have Dr. Patience with me. She will be right here to get some of your questions and respond to some of them. But before we come to that, Mape.
Yes.
I know you're going to be answering a series of questions from our people, but when you look at this as an Ambazonian, knowing our Fumban history, what do you think, if our people should fall for this trap, and if we should give in into this error, what are the effects you think this is going to have for us and our future?
Okay. I know that some of our people have already fallen for this trap, because one of the messages was forwarded to me. There's a group called, well, you have the IGK. I came across this forwarded message, says Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations Survey International Conference. Dear IGK members, please take the survey and ensure to register for the virtual conference at the end of the survey. So, and then I have a list of people that already put their name down. I don't want to read their names, but there are some people that I am surprised their names are on it, like Professor Anyangwe, Senator Penn, and all the like. This list came to me. Some of them I don't know them. To answer your question, if this survey, and I said it earlier, if this survey comes out with a conclusion that benefits us as Ambazonians, I will eat my words here today. I will say thank you. I will say thank you. But all inclinations, my gut feeling shows that the outcome will be different. You mentioned about Fumban. It's like the Federation of 1972, where they had a question we and yes, and people were answering and giving the same answer. The results from this survey will minimize the voice of Anglophones or of Ambazonians, because the majority of people that will answer this may not be Ambazonians. Mm-hmm. Just like it happened then. And with that said, I believe the IGK, I believe there are a group of people that claim that they are Ambazonians that are really for federation. That's what they want. They want this war to come to an end, but for us to remain as a federation. They are working towards a two-state federation, maybe something else, but that's their aspiration. So the net result is that our vision for an independent Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia will become unaccomplishable. We will just fail.
To keep the record
that straight, is my fear.
You're talking about the IGK. You're referring to what we know, fellow Ambazonians, as the Coalition for Surrender, the
exactly
mafia group. But I have a caller on the line already. I think we are having the first caller on the line already. Let me get him. Hello, sir.
Hello, Mr. Nanchop.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to thank you and Dr. Patience for the education you are trying to educate our people. I just called to say one or two things about the, how do they call it again? Coalition for
Dialogue and Negotiation.
And negotiations, yeah. So that might appear something new to a lot of people now. That thing has been in the making before the presidential election in La Republique last year. So I happened to, it was a barrister Ashu who sent the flyer to me. I sent him the flyer that I saw. His name was there, a lot of people, Yapo, and all those Federalist people. I asked him if he knew something about it. He said yes. And he said that is the Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiations. And he said it was operating. At that time, they wanted to promote it. They were trying to say that, oh, you know, they are going to get the support of the U.S. German-led talks. So when I asked him about the Swiss talks, he said they are already working in that coalition. So they divided themselves. That is where they have apportioned every segment that they have to do. Let me tell you something. They started this thing by trying to sample the opinion of people on ground zero first, and those on the diaspora. Those in the diaspora, on ground zero. If you have heard of something that is Ellie Smith and Cardinal Toomey, they were conducting. They wanted to organize the All Anglophone Conference. So that one was still moving towards that direction. So if you hear people calling for collaboration right now, it is because that same faction from Ground Zero is already fixed. So they want now to incorporate the diaspora into it. Okay, what they did is that they wanted to conduct a poll on Ground Zero. After the second thought, they said, no, let them start first in the diaspora. That is what led to the creation of the LCLC, that they came to diaspora. And the diaspora, yes. That LCLC, we tried to question who is sponsoring and whatsoever. There was no national anthem, no Ambazonian anthem, nothing like that, because they said people came from Ground Zero. Now, since the diaspora came out and said they wanted but independence, that is the reason why La Republique decided not to give permission for Cardinal Toomey to continue with the conference. But given the fact that the international community is holding La Republique to talk, and La Republique said he doesn't know who to talk with, so having Anglophones in quotes to meet in Boya under the auspices of the AGC of Cardinal Toomey and Ellie Smith, it was going to come out with somebody with whom to talk. But since that of diaspora, the SSC has already failed because people decided that they want but independence. La Republic government could not go and say they don't want to give permission again for Cardinal Toomey to hold the conference because the international community will go against them. What happened is that they sent Ekema. Ekema now went as a mayor and said, I will not grant you any permission to hold any conference. Think for yourself. There is nobody, no divisional officer, no sub-divisional officer in La Republique who, if he says yes, if he says no, order will come straight from Yaoundé. Whenever they quote their speeches, they always say, even at Tangaji today was talking from strict instruction from the head of state, this. So Ekema is nobody to stop a conference of a Cardinal Toomey. It's just that they thought that, like one person said in Bamenda to the Prime Minister, that all of you are with us in spirit. They were afraid that the diaspora have already voted for independence. If they allow that one to meet, they are going to come out for independence. La Republique will say they will no longer have the option of saying, I don't know who to talk with. So now, since Cardinal Toomey, they were delaying, Cardinal Toomey came and confessed and revealed that he tried to trick the polling by contacting only those he thought were going in for federation, could accept federation of one Cameroon. But it came out 69% of them, they wanted a total separation. So they wanted total separation. So if Ellie Smith, remember, they were working together with Ellie Smith, but the day he was giving the result, he was there by himself. So that is the reason why now they slow down the activities of coalition of dialogue before La Republique continue all this chaos, all these kind of games, tricking, all those things. So that when they come out with the second poll, Right now, people will say, okay, we are tired because they are killing our people. They have done this, so that the result will come out less. Remember, like those questions they are asking there, they are asking the questions they are asking there. They did not even start with independence. They did not even say that, oh, they want by international mediation and whatsoever. And all those who are even there are those who today are already pushing the agenda of La Republic, school resumption, no ghost town, no lockdown, and all those kind of things. So if Ambazonia people, you want something good for yourself, do not go there to go and endorse something, because they are going to come out and change the result and say, oh, Natumi carried out a research, it was 69%. But now because of atrocities, killings, and all those things, people are fed up. Another research has been carried out. 80% they said they want federation, they want all those kind of things. So that is exactly what we are saying.
Thank you.
I want to just see this opportunity to say that we expect people to be evolving. Because when you evolve, you change from your position. We have to make good use of it. I read something today. Somebody, Boris Bortz, the francophone guy. He said something about a video that Camto said, and if that summary that I read in French is right, then Camto must have shifted a little bit from his position.
Well,
because he said that.
I think, come on, you and let's not go into that today. I think I understand what you're trying to say. We can deliberate and explicitly, we can detailedly extend that on Friday during Tory time.
Okay, no problem.
Yes.
But the coalition for dialogue and negotiations, it is something which is a federalist agenda. So I don't want Ambazonians to go there and inflate the numbers and to later on regret. And that is why we have to be very careful with the terms that people use out there. You see a lot of people are already sharing. Someone is sharing, they say, end Anglophone crisis, end Anglophone crisis. We don't have any crisis. We have a genocide. We are not Anglophones. We are Southern Cameroonians. But people are there sharing it. When you share it or you say you want to endorse it, you don't even know that you are kicking yourself. We are Southern Cameroonians, in bracket, Ambazonians. We have a conflict. Both sides should go to the international community, for foreign mediation. Thank you so much. Let me not take time.
Wonderful. I have already the next caller on the line. Let me just take the next caller still. My patience before we analyze those points. I think the next caller is connected already. Hello, sir. Oh, we lost that caller. My patience. Let's come back to what Como UN just said. The two things I can draw for, okay, I think the caller is connected again. Let's just get these things. Let's get the next caller, then we analyze it together. Hello, sir. Welcome to Amber Voice.
Hello, Mr. Nanchop.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I really want to appreciate you for bringing up my patience. And I like her inside talking like a mother. We like children, we will actually hear what that means, because when you go with your mom somewhere and your mom doesn't want you to eat the food in a particular house, she will not say stop, don't eat it. No, there's a way the mom tells you, and then you will know that you don't have to eat this food. I want to talk
Mama, hold on. You know, say me and you, I know you find you my combi. But I'm not being willing to share my patient with you. She's my mother alone. Look how you connect tongue now.
Yeah, but I know mine for be twins, yeah, if you know mine too.
Yeah, I know mine more than one picking.
What you want to talk now and I say Mbuma no the born pussy. Mbuma no the born pussy. All these people, they're not the same thing. Whether what for surrender and what for what is the same thing. The good thing inside is that you guys are educating us and letting us know that there is a Mbuma coming. In terms of pussy, I never see Mbuma be mommy for pussy, but they are the same people. They no hear anything. With the cry die now, the people know the worry. They don't worry about anything. You know, they touch them anything. It be for them like say with the sleep. Then they can't wake up, then they start talk for us as if the thing they start now today. We don't make independent. And any independent country must have a president. We get a president. Now all that. Thank you, Pa.
Wonderful. Thank you, sir.
Point.
Mape,
Yeah.
these callers are raising up wonderful points. I want to raise up 2 points that I wanted to comment on. Como UN stressed on the fact that we know Cardinal Tumi had brought out a survey result to the public. I'm not very sure with the figures, but he said something like over 65% had 69%, that was it, I guess. Thank you for the correction. They had said they are for the independence of Ambazonia. Now, I am tempted to feel like this thing La Republic is trying to do, they want to also come at the end of the day with a result of a survey, and they want to make it be in a kind of way that will favor La Republic, as though the people have shifted from their original intent. That was first point. Second point, there's so much talk on social media about end the Anglophone crisis that it's somehow being propagated by our own people. I think we should call that to an end, because this is not an Anglophone crisis. This is a genocide.
Absolutely.
As a matter of fact, the international community have said this is a genocide. What's your take on that, Dr. Patience?
Yes, 2 things. Let me start with the first part about that survey that was conducted last year. So what Coalition for Dialogue and Negotiation should have done, if they were really genuine, they would have taken the results of that survey, that in this year, 69% of Southern Cameroonians, their purpose was that they wanted an independent Southern Cameroons. They wanted their own nation. So based on that, let's see how we can get the people to that negotiation table. Let's work with the body, the Swiss-led process right now, and see how we can get these people's aspirations recognized, or, that's what they should have done. But they decided to do another survey because they are looking for different. Usually when people do survey, they have in their mind what results they're wanting. They frame it in such a way that they will get results that favor what they are looking for. It's just like when you have a scientist, when they do an experiment, you have in mind what you think you want, and you do things that will probably lead to the results that you want. That's what you're doing. Secondly, regarding this end Anglophone, #end Anglophone crisis, I see it all over Twitter, and I see the people that are promoting it. It is simple. Let me say categorically here that if this #end Anglophone crisis had come up in 2016, if it had come up in 2016, it would have been a different ball game. If it had come out in 2016 and there was no war, that then we'll all be singing #end Anglophone crisis, #end marginalization, all those things. That is the language. But in the aftermath of 15,000 people murdered, in the aftermath of 400 villages burnt, in the aftermath of millions of people as refugees and internally displaced, in the aftermath of baby Martha, of the Gabu murders, of recently Kumba, and all the killings that happened in Bamenda recently, where they dump people in the rivers. It's no longer an Anglophone crisis. It's not an Anglophone crisis, period. It's an Ambazonia crisis. So it should be #end Ambazonia bloodshed. #end Ambazonia bloodshed. Because we are the ones that are being killed. How many Francophones have been killed? It's not an Anglophone crisis. It's a genocide. #end genocide in Southern Cameroons. So those who are pushing this #end Anglophone crisis are not Ambazonians, period. Or if you're doing it, it's because you've not been educated to what you should be hashtagging. That's what I want to say on that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Now, before we round up for today, and I know I'm sorry for those who are calling and we're missing your calls, but please, if you call and your call have been missed, you just want to call again, and I think we are having the next call on the line. Now, please, if you call, yes, hello, sir.
Please, if you call and your call have been missed,
please leave your laptop. Move away from your laptop. Move away from your. Move from your laptop and.
Yes, hello, sir. Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Yes, I'm calling right away from Istanbul. Are you getting me?
5 on 5.
Okay. Yes, I'm from Bamenda. And let me tell, I just want to contribute. Let me speak in pidgin so that everyone will
Go
understand.
straight for your point.
Yes, I want to say, if now they want to do a survey, if Cameroon government don't need thief vote for over 40-something years, which go pass you for thief survey for over 1 year, why not bring person like different country, like different body, like United Nations, who can do the survey, he want do him himself. Why not use Christian leader there, like that Kajidan Tumi, he own survey. So he want just do it way at Tanganji to do him, but I will tell them, say, we not deal with them and we not believe for their survey, make them go do their survey for their own part. Now I be like 20-something years. Since I don't grow, we get only one president, and they say we'll be leader of today and tomorrow. So they don't fool we don't tire. For francophone brother them, I don't tell them we'll be neighbor. We know we'll ever be together. If they like that style, may they remain for that style. We are not contented. For University of Bamenda, you get all for them of French teaching. They come for they can give assignment. Don't give for student they made a marker. They teach we accounting for French. You get me?
5 on 5. Would you hear you continue?
Yes. They teach we accounting for French. The expect some can be na which kind student then.
Sad, bro. Thank you for your contribution, my brother. You don't talk fine.
You're welcome, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wonderful point, my
He made 2 points. Yeah, he made 2 points that the corrupt system over the years, they always changed elections to favor themselves. Why would this be any different? And that's exactly our fear, that we don't endorse something like this that is bound to backfire on us. And secondly, the point that he's talking about education, that's what we're crying. This system of education there is there to set us such a way that we will always be slaves. If you're not educated, you're educated the wrong way, you learn the wrong stuff, then you are not empowered because you always not know more than somebody else because you don't know the real knowledge to advance yourself.
Yeah,
that limits you
true.
to the type of jobs that you can have slaves to these people.
Mape, I think we are going to come back detailedly to that. I have another caller on the line already. Hello, madam. Hello, sir.
Yes, Mr. Nanchop.
Yes, sir. Welcome to Amber Voice.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. And first, I want to thank you so much for all the effort you are putting in this Ambazonia war, and to thank also Dr. Patience, that her voice is the voice of all the. That's for all Ambazonia, because it's the mom, one of our mom in Ambazonia. So we thank her so much for everything she's doing. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, my dear.
Yeah, okay, bro. I'll continue now. Just talk for pigeon, I beg. I'll start by talk for first for talk say what people them or picking them for Kumba. We la Republic connive with internal enabler them for kill them. We no ever forget that blood then for their head. That the one thing that will talk. And as my patient be like and they accept our condolence and our heart really go for the family. Yes, and there's some very bad atrocity will not ever happen if not of the handwork for internal enabler them. Okay, I'll continue now by saying that if you look like this coalition of surrender or whatever on a coalition of dialogue, for me a null and void group, that because if Dr. Fontaine be serious, if he don't come for LRC day for Washington DC, he gather people them say any resolution or vote where they take out for day, na tinda international community wants him. We don't go for the vote say they want the independence. Right time, if you give a take that thing, just give coalition of dialogue. Say na this way Ambazonia for diaspora they want them. So if you just take enough for day, call our public, pressure them, say go for negotiating table. Switzerland already give their table or their office open for dialogue. but you know do one so. If you answer me a question, why you know give them that resolution they get that for LRC Day for Washington DC? The first question that I get that Dr. Fontaine. Then now the second question I say Switzerland Day open for dialogue. UN don't endorse them, US don't endorse them, Germany, England, all the powerful countries they don't endorse the Swiss talk. If La Republic, some people they claim say that La Republic they try to bring up the Swiss talk, why then they fear for go for the Swiss talk? If you say if I bring something and not say I may bring them, why the fear for go there? Now the only negotiation that way it be internationally recognized. But even the UN, if La Republic for go for UN, Swiss now for talk say, oh, UN Security Council come in, this country come in, we'll see now how they feel quickly make a new divide for stop this bloodshed. My brother, we'll give her the talk through. Dr. Fontaine know this thing. Why he want drag me for back? Just because he want just like in no agenda and a simple thing I'll talk him.
But amongst others, Ayok Tabe is also involved. My country people, Yerima, Epom, Mark Barata. These are all individuals who are involved in this thing. Not just Dr. Fontaine, but thank you so much, caller. I think your point has been clearly made to the public. Thank you for calling.
Yeah.
Okay, bro. Thank you.
My patients will be rounding up in a few minutes from now.
Sure.
Before we round up, I think that a few callers who've called in on this show of today have shared the same concerns we all have been uttering on this show. And I just want to emphasize on this point. You know, we are fighting a just cause.
Yes.
We are not going to give up. We've come come on, think about it. Not just like my patients, Dr. Patience was saying, not after when we've lost so many people like this, we are going to give in into a kind of federation with La Republique. That will never happen. If La Republique would kill our own children and then tack it on us, is that the,
Yeah.
I mean, come on, are these the people you want to live with? Seriously? They will go to Kumba, shoot our daughters. Now, think about it. Why did they decide to shoot the students and I mean, such as young as the ones they killed? Because this is a message they are passing to us. Remember, these children were in their classrooms. They portrayed no danger, no sign of danger to the society. They are innocent and they were armless. So killing this class of people is a sign to show that they are willing and they want to eradicate your future. It's a message they are passing to us. This is an act that was committed without remorse. And La Republique, knowing fully well that they've committed this treacherous act, they went ahead to tackle us. Now think about it. The criminal SDO, when he arrived at the scene, the first thing that came out of his mouth was he was instigating the population against the Ambazonian Restoration Forces, which means it was a planned act. He intended to do that. It was a plan. Now they went further to arrest the key stakeholders that could at least testify against them, the proprietor of the school and some others. Come on, let's be real here. These people hate us. To those who are trying to pull us to a kind of federation with them, why do you hate us? You claim we are your brothers? And my question I will keep asking La Republique, is it by burning the hundreds of villages, killing the people, shooting and killing our children, that will make us be one and indivisible? You are joking. Dr. Patience, your final word for the day, ma'am.
My final word, and I will just piggyback on what you just said lastly, that why do they hate us so much? They will kill our kids. I tell those who believe in one and indivisible, those who do not see that these are innocent children that are being killed, that they are the future of our young country to be. I tell them that if they're so passionate about La Republique, no one is stopping them from staying with La Republique. I will repeat this over and over. There are just two sets of people. Those who want a free Amazonia to live in peace and determine their own future, determine how they want their education to run, their health system, their infrastructure, their judiciary system, and many more are on one side. Those who love La République so much and want to stay with La République can go and stay with La République and help fix La République. That's the other side.
That's right.
Let's fight to be good neighbors. But this fight will eventually lead to a liberated Amazonia. If it doesn't happen in my lifetime, it will happen in another person's lifetime, in generations to come. You cannot kill an ideology. Look at October 1st, 2020. You saw young children singing the national anthem, Amazonian anthem. Those kids will not suddenly forget about Amazonia. They have the anthem memorized. A land flowing with milk and honey in future. God being our protector. So the earlier we stop this carnage, the earlier those who are supporting French Cameroon realize that the best way forward is to come together and try to solve this problem as soon as possible to stop all the killing. Because tomorrow it may be your own person that is killed. Right now it's some 9-year-old, 11-year-old in the classroom. It may be your relative next time. We don't know. We don't want that to happen. And we Amazonians, we cannot kill our children. There's no way we could kill our children. La République is wicked. That's evil. They're evil. They're evil fighting us because they think we are not worthy of life. They think we are not human beings. If you think about it, they call us dogs and cockroaches and roaches. How can you want to live one-on-one with them? In conclusion, I say, coalition for dialogue and negotiation. If you really, those who support them, if you truly believe in an independent Amazonia, Southern Cameroons, then there's only one option. Find out how you can make the Swiss process work. Engage, support the Swiss process. That's the only international process that is right there, right now. Until it fails us, then you look for another alternative. They don't condemn something that is right there. The popular say, a bird in hand is worth two in the bush. It's right there. Let's embrace it and do all possible to get it going for us and stop this carnage. We're tired of our kids being killed. And let's not give up. They want us to surrender. La République is counting on us to say, oh my goodness, the only way for this to stop is if I support La République. That will not end it. It will not end it. Thank you so much. And final condolences to the families of our children that were mowed down on October 24th. Once more, may their soul rest in peace. Thank you, Mr. Nanchop, for giving me this opportunity. I appreciate you very much. Goodbye to all Amazonians. Thank you.
Dr. Patience Abiedio joining us all the way from Los Angeles, California. Fellow Amazonians, I promised you that before rounding up the show of today, I'll be giving you the linkage between the so-called coalition for dialogue that is happening right now and the games of La République that have been taking place in the last days. Now, listen, think about this. La République has invested a lot of money together with France to make sure that this so-called coalition and negotiation or dialogue stuff that they are planning works. They are doing everything to make sure that they don't repeat the same mistake that took place during the national dialogue. Now, they've been working in the background. Listen, don't be deceived. You see, the killing of our children is to bring in distraction. They are planning to have a meeting or the conference in the next days, in the couple of days to come. La République chose this particular day and time to kill these children. So they know that we'll be mourning. They know that we'll be focused on addressing this issue, whereas they are going behind our back to pull their secret agenda and plan so that they can come out with a desired result. Listen, we don't discover them. We have to hash their plans. Each and every one of us, you watching me right now, we are going to come up with a strong hashtag to make sure that they know that we are not ignorant of their mischievous devices. La République du Cameroun, never again will you and shall you deceive us. We are the never again generation. They have been killing our people. Listen to what happened. This thing started after they saw the might of the Ambazonian Restoration Forces displayed on the 1st of October. Until then, their surrogates and the internal enablers have been telling them the interim government is finished. The Ambazonian fighters are finished. They have no fighters. They have no influence. They cannot stand. They cannot resist. You remember, I've been telling you that this is a war of endurance. So La République, in the hope that we are finished, they've dealt with us. They were surprised to see the thousands of Ambazonian fighters and the people that came out on the 1st of October. In their rage and disappointment, they went out and started executing generals that were already under their radar, like Ayeke. That was the first distraction. Now think about it. Why will Ayeke be killed in Lebialem and his corpse be transferred to Kumba? Kumba. I repeat, Kumba. Does that sound or make any sense to you? A few days later, we are seeing that our brothers and sisters and children were shot in the same vicinity in Kumba. Whereas La République is strongly forging their agenda for the coalition for negotiations and dialogue. Now, we know La République is stupid, but at this time, they're trying to do something asynchronously, They're trying to work and do many things at the same time because they have an agenda. Brothers and sisters, fellow Ambazonians, we must make sure that we stand our grounds. We must give the interim government our maximum support. We must all draft for our counties. We must strengthen our brothers and sisters. Listen, let La République go out there and do whatsoever survey or whatsoever they're trying to do. But our voices and our decisions will remain firm and we will stand on our grounds. We are not going to shake on our position. And I also want them to understand that we are not going to fall in for this cheap propaganda that they're trying to build up. Fellow Ambazonians, stand your grounds. As we mourn with our fathers and mothers, I also want to use this opportunity to encourage and to give a stern message to those parents that are claiming stubborn. Life is better. These children are our brothers and sisters. You are not going to push them out there. Please, mothers and fathers, go in for the security of your children. Life is better. Look, La République, and I will keep saying this, they don't love us. If they could kill the father and the children of other people, like what happened to our brothers and sisters in Kumba, what makes you feel that they are going to protect your own child? They promised these families and these schools protection, and they never gave it. So what is convincing you as of now that they are going to protect the schools of your children? We are not going to fall again into that trap. We don't want to lose the future generation. Mothers and fathers, keep our children at home. Keep our brothers and sisters home. We saw the images of what happened today in Boya and in Limbe. Please, I am begging you as Nanchop, protect our children. Thank you for following this show of today. Tomorrow I'm coming up again with a special guest, and you don't want to miss Tori Time on this coming Saturday. Tori Time is going to be powerful. Because of what happened last Saturday, we had to call it off. We had to cancel the program. But this coming Saturday, the panelists are ready. We have a lot to discuss with you. But before then, tomorrow is another day. To those of you watching me right now from Ground Zero, keep yourself in security. Until I see you again on the next episode of Amber Voice, stay strong, be healthy, and of course, my beloved generals, stand strong, one spirit.